Good afternoon, everyone. It is the afternoon of the 22nd of April, 2024. I've got a couple hours I can devote to my project car today. I recently got a shipment notification from Mark II Enterprises about the replacement steering gear. It'll be here Friday. Today is Monday. I love Mark II Enterprises. They do good things for our hobby, but they're only open Monday through Thursday. And it always seems, for whatever reason, it just seems to work out. Whenever I need something, I always order it on a Thursday afternoon or evening, which means the order doesn't go in until Monday morning, and I don't get it till a week later. But yeah, that's the way it is, and that's okay. Um, I got back from the hardware store, and I was able to find some sheets of insulating material that I think would be perfect for this. I couldn't find a sheet long enough so I just got two pieces, and I'll just trim them to size, and they'll form nice little spots here too that I'll cut a hole through for the ports, inlet and outlet ports on the heater core, and just glue them on there with some silicone RTV sealant. So that should work out perfectly. And while I was there, I also got some little square nuts. One of the retaining nuts here for the splash shield, I had cross-threaded it. I didn't realize it, and it twisted it off on the firewall. But it's not damaged, so all I got to do is replace the cross-threaded nut with a new one and put that back on the firewall. So got some extras. Now that I found some, I just got a few extras to have around. Um, so we'll see how long it takes me to finish up with the heater core and if I want to do anything else today. Something that I'm thinking about too, I have this whistling noise from the right passenger vent window area, and up to now I've been assuming it's because the frame wasn't tied up against the door weather seal, but I remember it's also possible that the vent window itself is not sealed properly, and it's a little triangular seal, and I'm pretty sure it's adjustable. I've never actually had to adjust one before, but I'm going to check that first before I go messing with the whole door adjusting thing and all that. See if I can shut up that whistling noise when I get the car back on the road. I think that's it for now. All right, I'm using my nice clean parts cleaner now as a work surface. I just laid my cover on top of here, and I just traced the edges here along where I need to cut, and I'm just going to use a pair of scissors right there, just cut it out. So I'll have the first piece, and then I'll lay the other one and trace it in a similar fashion, and then glue them to the back of this. All right, this is what it looks like after I've trimmed it and attached it with just the clear silicone RTV sealant. It really doesn't even have to dry. It's just being held in place. That's all I need in order to install it, because once I lock it down with the screws, that'll keep it tight on there, and it's not going anywhere, so I don't have to wait for it to dry. And I just need to cut myself a hole at both ends here. I'm going to do that carefully with my razor blade knife there. Hopefully I won't mess that up. And then I'm just going to go install it. Looks pretty good so far. All right, it ended up being kind of tricky getting that thing in place because the gaskets kept sliding off. So I ended up putting the gasket sitting on top of the heater core and then the plate on top of that. That seemed to work a lot better. So now the trick is I've got to find the holes for each of these screws without knowing exactly where they are, but it should be really close because the heater core itself kind of centers the plate. So I'm going to attempt to find the screw holes now and secure that thing down. All right, here's my new heater valve with brand new hoses attached to it, brand new hose clamps. I've decided to go back to the original design using my worn out Y fitting. It's pretty worn out, but I think it'll still hold. So I just couldn't get this to work the way I wanted it to. This ended up being too short. I even bought a 5/8 to 5/8 connector where I could have extended this and maybe made it work, but then that introduces two more hose clamps in the system, which is another point of failure, possible point of failure. And I didn't like the way this end of the hose fit right here on this fitting. It was a little looser than I would have liked. All this time I've been saying it's a 7/16, but Napa gave me a 3/8 hose that's a very tight fit, but it does get on there, so maybe I had the wrong size all along. I don't know. Doesn't really matter. I'm just going to stick with the original design. So I've got this ready to sit down behind the intake manifold down in there. I'm probably going to regret this, but I'm attempting to make the switch when I disconnect this hose, take it off, and quickly connect this one without draining any water out of the system. I'm probably going to regret that, but I'm just not in the mood to try and drain more water out of the system again. We'll see how it goes. You can see, I don't remember if I showed an end shot of this all locked in place now, but all the bolts are in. I also injected some clear silicone RTV sealant around there. I didn't like, especially on this side, I didn't like how much of an air gap there was, so I wanted to seal that up really well. That might make it a challenge in some future year if it never needs to come off, but not impossible. I did the same thing on the other side. I just want to make sure it's well sealed. All right, I've now completed the install of my new heater core and my new heater valve. It's down there. It's interesting trying to figure out how to route all these hoses so they don't kink, so I ended up rerouting this one a little bit differently than I thought it would have to, but it kept wanting to kink on me, so I just extended it some and routed it a little bit differently around the PCV valve hose. But everything is connected. I didn't spill too much water by not draining it first, so I consider that a success. The only thing left I need to do is hook up the vacuum lines, hook everything back up, and test it out by starting the car, which of course I can't do right now because my hydraulic lines are disconnected and open without a steering gear, so that won't be tested until I get the steering gear installed. But I consider this a success. It's done.